Hello, welcome to another episode here on Captain's Dry Dock, and in the dry dock today I'm making a paint station. Basically a pretty box to organise all my Games Workshop paints. Let's make it real. But John, there are absolutely hundreds of paint stations online which you can buy and get delivered to your door. That is very true. However, those paint stations are mainly static, meaning that they're designed to sit in your desk and not move off. Now, if you're like me, where you use your desk for multiple purposes, I actually use mine for computing and gaming and making stuff on 3D CAD software, and I don't want this always on my desk, and so I wanted something that could be folded away. And yes, there are paint stations out there which is basically a glorified dinner tray. However, there's not enough recesses or compartments to actually store the maximum amount of paints that I have in my collection, which is around about 38-40, as well as all the tools and the knives and whatnot. So I thought to myself, let's make my own. Although there were a few of those examples of where they folded out, however, they were too high. And if you're like me, I like watching YouTube on my computer or Netflix while I'm actually painting, and also if I'm referring to anything while I'm painting on the computer. So I needed it to be a right height. I didn't want it to cover my monitor completely, but I had to make it wide enough to incorporate all the paints. So that's why I decided to take on the challenge of designing and making my own paint station. I recently bought a second-hand laser cutter from a friend, which made this a perfect first project, seeing that paint stations sold online have been made in the same way. Hence you can see the telltale scorch mark signs on the surface of the MDF. Although I'm using a 3D CAD package Fusion 360 to design my ideal paint station, you can use any software that draws editable vector lines such as Adobe Illustrator. Although if designing in 2 dimensions, you have to use your imagination how it might look in 3D. Before starting, I listed key goals of how it should meet my needs. 1. Doesn't obstruct my monitor. 2. Fits up to 40 Games Workshop paint pots in their current form, hoping they're not going to do a drastic redesign anytime soon. 3. Stores everything I need to make and paint figures. 4. Can be folded away quickly and easily. And 5, of course, it's got to look cool. I wanted this to be a practical and tidy design, and also making sure my paint stayed in position and not rattled around inside every time I picked up the case. Another practical detail was to make sure the label name of the paint was still exposed when it's in position. Once done, all I have to do is lay out the design as a 2D plan and then export the files to the laser cutting software. The whole design was based on the use of 6mm MDF that's formulated for the use of laser cutting. Watching the laser cutter do its thing is incredible, especially knowing the amount of time it would have taken me to make something like this by hand. It's not until that it's all cut out and laid out on my carpet that I can really appreciate how awesome having a laser cutter is, especially as the tolerances are so tight that parts slot together perfectly. For glue, I'm using ordinary white PVA glue, but to avoid mess and to apply the glue accurately, I bought a load of these dispensers used for airbrush paint mixing and transferred the glue into that. This avoided so much mess and also much easier to hold rather than one of those great big PVA bottles. As the slots are perfect and hold together even without glue, I still use masking tape to hold sections together to make sure it stayed tight while drying. For the finishing touches, I'm using brass parts to give it a sense of quality and also to indicate that it's something that will be used for years. But anything added also had a function, including these classy corner protectors. As this was an object that was going to be picked up a lot, I needed a handle, so I decided to buy a brown leather strap and fix it onto the paint station with these brass Chicago screws. In keeping with practicality, the final and important detail are these little felt protective pads that are stuck onto the base, as I wanted to protect my desk and also make it easier for the wings to slide open and close and also shut without scratching up the tabletop. Although Captain's Dry Dock specialises in replica props from film and TV, now and again I like to make something really useful but still looks great. And this was a fantastic project to sink my teeth into, which I'm going to use every single day. Now, if you want to see other videos like this, click on the subscribe button down below. And in fact, this is always going to be a work in progress. In fact, I feel that I can do a little bit more to make the ergonomics of this even better. And no doubt you will have an opinion as well. So I welcome if you can leave a comment down below and just tell me what I can do to improve this setup. But in the meantime, this is Captain's Dry Dock. My name's John Child, and this is just a load of MDF. You take care, and I'll see you later.